You're probably missing out on all these chords that are hiding in plain sight. I want to show you what you're missing. My name is Adam. I've been playing professionally for around 40 years or so, and only jazz for the last 25 years. Now, have you ever noticed how pro jazz guitarists never sound like they're jumping around from chord to chord? That smooth, flowing sound that you hear, that's more than likely chord inversions at work. And let me be honest with you. I used to be the opposite of smooth myself. Maybe you feel that way about your chords right now too. I was probably playing all my chords with the root notes on the bottom, totally stepping all over the bass player. If there was a graceful way to comp chords, I definitely hadn't found it yet. Probably something resembling this. But once I discovered inversions, man, everything changed. My comping smoothed out. I could connect chords way easier, and suddenly it sounded like I knew what I was doing. So I want to show you why inversions are one of the most important tools you'll ever learn on guitar, and give you a taste of how the pros actually use them. By the end, you'll see why they're essential for jazz, or really any music, and give you a sneak peek into how you can practice them. So let's start with the basics. What even is an inversion? If you already understand the logic of how chord inversions work in theory, but you want to learn how to implement them on the guitar, then skip to the next timestamp. First, basic harmony is taking every other note from a scale to create a chord. In jazz, we use 4-part harmony, or 4 notes, as a minimum, usually. An inversion is just a chord, but with a different note in the bass other than the root every time. Instead, you flip it around, so maybe the 3rd, the 5th, or even the 7th is in the bass. But see, the notes themselves don't change, just the order that you play them. Now, I know maybe this sounds simple in theory, but the logic is theory. The logic is theory. The theory is logical.
You know, it's not funny.
Yes, it is.
But here's the magic. When you string all those inversions together in a tasteful way in a song, your chords will go beyond sounding beginner to sounding professional. Chords melt into each other instead of jumping all over the neck. That's what gives music that flowing, more professional sound that you're probably looking for. Remember how clunky that first example sounded? But now if I use some simple inversions, listen to how much smoother this sounds. There are other solutions than the one way I just played. But do you hear the difference? It's like going from driving in the city, stopping and starting, slamming on your brakes, turning sharp corners, avoiding pedestrians, to driving on a highway with gentle, smooth curves, and you barely have to slow down. Now, it even looks smoother. Notice that the notes move the least amount of distance. Or sometimes they don't even move at all. Now we're getting into what's known as voice leading. That's how you get smooth sounding chord changes. And I played all the chords more or less in one place on the fretboard, and I'm not traveling from one end of the fretboard to the other and back and forth, to and fro. Maybe you're playing with a band and you realize that you're, thumping on the root notes with the bass player and it's just this muddy mess. Yeah, I know, I've been there too, remember? Well, inversions can help fix all of that. They let you keep your chord transitions really close together. They let you get out of the bass player's way, and they give you options to add movement and variety without changing the harmony, so that you don't get bored and you sound more interesting. Now, let me give you a quick taste on how to figure inversions out. Let's just take a simple C major 7 chord, okay? Each note in the chord simply goes up to the next note of the chord in order. So this C goes up to the next note in the chord, E. This G goes up to the B. This B then goes up to C. And this E goes up to G. So you move from this to this. Then you get this first inversion. Now you keep that same system going. Move each note up to the next note of the chord. Okay? So now this goes to this, the E goes to G, the B goes to C, the C goes to E, and then the G goes to B. And now you get the second inversion. Okay? Now, if I keep going and I keep each note moving up, then I'll get the third inversion. And if we do that once more, well, we just get the same structure that we started off with down here at the 3rd fret. 1 octave higher. Pretty cool, right? And that's just one chord type, major 7, on one string set. There are other chord types and other string sets. When you work them out, just do it in the same manner I showed you, and you'll be all right. Just remember that once you learn major 7, not only will all the shapes be the same in all other keys, all other chords you learn will only be slightly changed or modified, because in each inversion, the structures always stay intact. That means in whatever string set you choose to play through, the root, the 3rd, and the 7th, and the 5th always stay on the same strings for each chord inversion. Let's take a look at C7. If we just flatten the 7th in all the chord forms for C major 7, you have just taught yourself. Now it looks like this. So we have root position, first inversion, second inversion, and third inversion. Now, what about minor 7? If you flatten now the 3rd and the 7th, okay? So now, that's root position. We're going up to the next one. First inversion, sorry. Second inversion. And now we have the third inversion. When you expand on this to minor 7 flat 5, diminished 7, and all other chords, you've got a huge palette of sounds right there under your fingertips. Not to mention being able to flatten or sharpen the 5th of a chord on the fly, because now you can see where the 5th is at all times. Instead of one way, your chord vocabulary instantly expands fourfold. This empowers you to know what you're doing and what the structure of any chord is, so that you can truly have a far deeper understanding of chords than just trying to memorize and play shapes. And trust me, that way is exhausting. Now take all those shapes and run them through short progressions, kind of like what I showed you. Then on to full songs. Suddenly everything will open up for you. It may take a little while, but it will open up for you. Now obviously I can only scratch the surface in a YouTube video, but if you want the full map of inversions for the 6 to 7 most common chords across the neck, plus some practice routines to actually make them stick, I've put together a PDF lesson that you can grab. The link is below. I shudder to think what I used to sound like years ago. Can you relate to that? If you do, leave a comment. I'd like to hear from you. Think of it as maybe therapy. But once I figured out inversions, I really could just glide through chord progressions without even really thinking too hard about it, instead of sounding awkward. I was also getting more out of the way of the bass player. I'm much happier and confident playing through songs now. Plus, it's way more fun when you aren't locked into a handful of chord shapes. More importantly, I went from amateur sounding to professional. Now here's the thing. Don't feel like you need to learn every inversion for every chord in every key today. That's a recipe for overwhelm. But remember, I got you covered with the super handy PDF that I have available. It will save you the headache of figuring it out and will save you a ton of time. That's why I have this channel. I want to help you out and save you time by getting right to the important stuff, the important information with zero fluff and no BS. I mean, I'm a professional musician. There's no BS here. I'm teaching you what I know. So if this clicked with you, hit that like button, subscribe, and most importantly, check out the PDF lesson I put together. That's where I lay out the complete system of inversions across the neck for all chord types that you'll actually use in jazz. It's the roadmap I wish that I had when I was struggling with this stuff. Once inversions click, you'll never go back to playing chords the way you used to, ever again. Now that's chords, but rhythm is what makes everything sound like music. Watch this video that I came up with for you that you can take your newfound knowledge of chords and apply it to the art of comping. Click on the video and I'll meet you there and tell you all about this 100-year-old rhythm, and it's still used in jazz today, and it can help you become a comping master.